Hey guys, and welcome to episode 8 of the Stephen O'Brien Coaching Podcast. So today is a really kind of special episode. It's it's an episode filled with a story of mental health. It's a story of alcoholism. It's a story of kind of losing your way. It's a story of someone becoming homeless and really how they kind of regain their life to get themselves back on track again. So this guest speaker I have today with me, Sean, he's absolutely amazing. So guys, I really hope that you enjoy this episode, and I hope that you can take a lot of gold nuggets away from it. Hey guys, how are we getting on today? So today we're here with Sean Fitzpatrick. Sean works in the fitness industry as a coach, and what really attracted me to speak to Sean first day was when I seen him in the gym. He was very kind of open, uplifting. I've seen him with his clients and stuff like that, and there was a lot of positive vibes coming out of him, so I thought he would be brilliant to have on board. But then kind of what I found out afterwards is that you kind of had a bit of an underlying story behind everything, so which was I found really inspiring to what you're actually doing today. So thank you very much for giving your time today to being on.
No problem at all.
So I suppose just tell us a little bit about what you do at the moment.
So look, as I said, I'm working in the fitness industry. I'm a coach. I'm the head coach of MT Fitness in Blackpool. So we're predominantly working with the general population, weight loss, muscle gain, for people who've never really been in a gym. And I suppose we practice what we preach in terms of like, we're all about balance, consistency, and improving general mindset and positivity. So there's never will be bodybuilders or stepping on stage or anything like that. We're very just down to earth. And I suppose, there was a kind of bit of a backstory to why I got into it, as I kind of told you. I suppose my main thing is with clients, trying to make them as happy and as positive as they can. I suppose we kind of talked about, the reasons for driving me into that, and that was my own personal kind of fitness journey, weight loss journey, whatever you want to call it. And I suppose mindset journey as well, more than anything. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I've had from it. So I started working 2 or 3 years ago in the industry, and I'm still here and enjoying it more than ever anyway. Yeah, that's the main thing, is that you're actually falling into something now that you really love and enjoy. Especially you're already 22. 22. I was 22 in December, and feel old.
That's mad, because when I was 22 I was completely lost. I had no direction in life whatsoever. I had no clue what I was doing. I was literally just after coming back from living in Spain for 3 years, and I was more or less on a binge for 3 years over there.
Yeah.
So I came back here having a clue what I wanted to do, what direction, knew nothing really about fitness or anything like that. So it's even inspiring to see that.
Yeah.
Your age doing
Thank
that.
Thank you.
I suppose take us back a little bit. Kind of what was life like for you, say, in your school years as a teenager?
It was funny, because I knew we'd be chatting about this, because, especially with your platform, which I'm very admirable of, and I was only thinking about it in the car, and school was kind of difficult, and partly was maybe the area I grew up in. I was in Torker, and I suppose I would have been one of the people that actually loved school. Yeah. But in contrast to the area I was living in, school probably wasn't at the highest priority for a lot of other people in that area, and it was actually more so my attitude towards it in the end. I suppose I just found it difficult. I didn't really get on with people. I always felt different. And I suppose that led to, I suppose I would have developed an eating disorder quite young. Food would have been a very important part of my life growing up, especially in school. I remember we used to get school lunches brought into us, and I used to gorge on food as my kind of release from everything. I just found school difficult, didn't know who I was. And I suppose that, that led me down to kind of other paths as I got older and stuff like that. But school was difficult. That was just to kind of really take away from it.
What do you feel was difficult for you about it? I'm working with a lot of teenagers at the moment, and a lot of them are stuck in that place where they just hate school. They find it so hard to cope with. They're not really into the way of learning the way the teachers are teaching them.
Yeah, I suppose it was more so just the actual content of stuff. I didn't really enjoy what I was learning, I didn't feel engaged enough. I don't think there was a lot of there wasn't a lot of talk about what I would find real now, which would be mindset, getting to know yourself, personal development, figuring out your genuine likes and dislikes, and then kind of maybe towards looking at a career you actually find interesting. You know, there wasn't a lot of that. We would have had general guidance counsellors and stuff, but there was never really like, you know, someone to pull you aside and have a proper long chat. What do you actually like? It was more so like, you know, you follow the route of you work hard for the 6 years you're in secondary school, you do your leaving cert, you study for the whole entire year of leaving cert, you go to college and you get a 9 to 5 job. That was kind of like the pattern I was kind of going down. And I did that, you know. I remember locking myself away in sixth year. I did night study in school. I'll always remember it was in November, it was dark, it was miserable. I had gotten up at 7 to go to school. I was home at 4 and I was back up to school like 6 or 7 to 10 that night. I remember getting in the car, my dad collected me and nearly breaking down crying. I was like, I cannot do this, you know. No sunlight.
Like you were saying there, you were already hated school, that you felt you didn't really kind of fit in there as well. But how did you feel then actually going back again for the evening?
It's hard.
Like
it was tough. I felt like it genuinely felt like this. It was just a miserable existence, you know.
Yeah.
Especially studying subjects I had no interest in. I would have been okay at sport, and I kind of packed that in for the year because I just felt this immense pressure that I had to succeed in this.
Yeah.
I had to do it. Naturally, I wouldn't be the most academic person. I was okay, but you know, it did take me a lot of work and effort to try and get that extra mile, and at the same time, I just didn't want to do it. You know, I really didn't want to do it.
Were you pushed into doing the evening study stuff, or was it something that you kind of chose to do yourself to try and help you get through it?
I suppose a mixture of both.
Yeah.
You know, it was probably a mixture of both. It was a bit more like I knew I wouldn't do it at home, and then my parents were very, very supportive. Probably pushed me at times to do things I didn't really want to do. So they were kind of suggesting it, and they said, look, they'd pay for it. And, you know, my parents used to collect me from school at 10 o'clock at night, and, you know, that was the kind of support that they gave me as such.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just tough, you know, it was tough. Yeah. It would have been a few nights a week, but still, you know, you felt like your whole life revolved around this 1 year, and it felt like it was never ending.
And it's like, even looking back on it now, are you glad you did the evening classes? Because you're going to get a lot of people as well that kind of are sitting in the same kind of shoes as you, going, oh my God, I just hate going there, I don't want to do it. But then if they're pushing to do what you did, that extra bit, like, do you regret doing it, or are you glad you did it?
No, like, I suppose the whole year in general was a learning curve for me.
Yeah.
You know, I found the leaving cert tough. I don't regret any part of it, but I suppose if I had my time over, I would have managed my whole entire routine and life in sixth year a lot differently. You know, maybe I wouldn't have done the 4 nights a week in there. Maybe I would have kept up sport. I think physical activity in your final year in school would have saved me so much stress, so much hassle, so much pressure. So I probably would have organised things a little bit better, you know, set aside proper time management days where I'm like, right, Sundays I just design my plan for the week. Right, I'm going to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday studying. Maybe Thursday I'm going to go to the gym. Friday I'm going to go training. Saturday I'm going to take a day off, and then Sunday I'm going to, you know, study in the morning or whatever, and just organise my time better. I had no time management. I had no organisation skills whatsoever. Everything was just kind of living from day to day. And I suppose what gets measured gets managed. So if you're measuring your progress, if you're measuring, you know, what you're actually doing with your time, I would have achieved a lot more, and maybe I would have kind of felt a bit more motivated to study towards something as well, because, you know, I was going into college studying a degree that I hated, really, like, you know, and it didn't work out.
Yeah. Well, like, that's hard. I think that's one of the biggest things that people find it so hard in school, is to find their motivation, because they're not connected to anything.
No.
They're learning this stuff for nothing.
No.
Not for nothing, but they're learning it because that's what they've been told they have to learn it. And I know that was one of the problems when I was in school. I kept asking myself, when am I ever going to use this?
Geography.
Yeah.
Higher level maths.
So you're constantly asking yourself, why do I need to learn this stuff, when it's not actually connected to anything that you are passionate about?
No, not at all. If
you found something you're passionate about, then obviously you can go on that path, and it'd be so much easier. So you were saying a while ago as well about an eating disorder.
Yeah.
And did that get worse for you in sixth year?
I suppose it was kind of everything in sixth year was heightened by this exam pressure, you know, so I think it progressively got worse. I actually think for me, sixth year was probably the time it was less active, you know, if that makes sense. I suppose all my attention was kind of going on focusing for exams. And then the times I did get a break from it, drink would have been a huge factor in it, like, you know, so that would have been my kind of escape more than anything. And because I kind of quit sport, I kind of didn't have much of a part of my life anymore. You know, I did naturally tend to put on a little bit of weight, so I suppose I didn't really notice that food was creeping up on me that little bit more. But because I had taken such a step back from sport, the weight naturally kind of piled up for me a little bit. And then, you know, come college, the scene in college, I didn't really care. I was getting blackout drunk and I was oblivious to everything. So my weight didn't really matter to me as much. Until then, you know, I'd stopped and then I realised, like, you know, I'm after putting on 10 kilos, you know, and you're just thinking, like, that's 20, 25 pounds, 22, 25 pounds. It didn't feel right, like, you know, but I suppose it had just been numbed out from the drinking, that the whole idea with food was kind of quiet for the moment, you know, with the stress. And then with the stress of the exams and stuff, it was just drinking was my kind of escape then over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, and were you drinking many days a week?
It would have been, like, when I talk about it with people, I suppose they would have asked me, or people even say to me, like, you know, we didn't think you were that bad, or you never drank that much. It was more so, it could have been 1 or 2 nights a week, but when I did, it was just blackout, and it was oblivious, and it was just, right, I've had this day a week, or I've had this week in school, or I've had this going on at home, or I've had this going on here. Let's forget about everything. Let's just get blackout drunk. Let's go party. And then, you know, that was my escape. And I suppose as I started drinking more and I started progressing more, I did tend to drink more. That was just the way it went. But at the start, it was kind of harmless. You know, it would have been the 1 or 2 nights a week. I enjoyed it, you know, bushing, gatting, partying, whatever you want to call it. Like, you know, it was fun and it was enjoyable. And as I said, it was that release from the kind of everyday stressors. But then eventually it just kind of crept up and it was, you know, 2, 3 times a week, 3, 4 times a week. And then eventually, January of my first year of college, I remember, like, we were out most days of the week was like, you know, and it was chaotic, absolutely chaotic.
And did something happen then along the way for you to say, you know, I need to actually do something about this, or I need to stop, or I need to make changes?
Yeah, I suppose there was a few things, you know, like, actually my voice is getting shaky, it's kind of hard to talk about, but you know, it just started bringing trouble at home, you know. I suppose it's progressive, you know, and it's addicting, you know, alcohol is addictive. So it would have got to the point where, you know, I have a younger brother in the house, I have an older sister, I have 2 parents, and they started to see a side of me that was, you know, completely, it was like Jekyll and Hyde, like, you know. So I suppose I would have been fired from work, where I suppose I would have been let go, you know. I would have called in sick a few times, drunk or whatever like that, you know. And I suppose there was one night where I kind of texted my boss at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning saying, sorry, I'm in hospital, but I wasn't, you know. And I just wanted the party to continue. You know, there was at one stage I came home and I caused murder at home, you know. I don't want to talk about that too much, like, you know, but it was, I caused murder at home, and, you know, eventually ended up with my dad saying to me, look, you need to kind of get this started here, you know, you need to do something about it, or you can't stay in the family home, like, you know, because it's different when you've a younger brother in the house, you know. He's a priority. He was only 13 at the time, like, you know, so he was one of their priorities to keep safe and to keep well and stuff. And eventually, you know, it just got so bad that I genuinely couldn't stop as much as I wanted to, you know. I wanted to go back playing hurling. I wanted to focus on that, you know. I tried giving up, or I tried switching drinks, or I tried doing X, Y, and Z, but I couldn't, you know. Even though I wasn't drinking every day, I just couldn't stop. I couldn't let the party go. I didn't like the way my life was turning out, you know. I was causing murder at home. I was losing jobs. I was, you know, having to drop out of college and stuff. And eventually then, you know, I kind of came to a mediocre attempt in my life. It was really mediocre. Like, you know, I remember coming home drunk one night, and my dad and parents told me, just, you have to go, you know, you have to go. If you leave now, don't come back. And I didn't. And eventually the next morning I texted them. I texted them saying, look, I'm going doing this today. And eventually they kind of, you know, they found me, and I hadn't done anything too drastic at all. But, you know, it led me to A&E, where I had to spend overnight. And the next day, I suppose, I thought that they'd expect just to accept me back, you know, and just say, look, we'll fix it together. But they kind of, the greatest thing they ever did was told me, you're not coming back into the house. And that was my complete another wake-up call. I was like, shit, I'm goosed now, you know. So they gave me money for a B&B, and they, you know, go get emergency accommodation, and you have to go back the next morning and get the refund of the receipt and get the money again. And it was hard, you know, it was quite hard. And then I suppose I was given the option that you either do something about this or we won't be able to kind of give you help anymore, which I completely understood. And I suppose I know now that they would have done anything if I had made the right decision, which I did, so I found myself at 19 ringing Tabor Lodge, a treatment centre in Belgooly, and they said they had a bed for me. I think it was April the 26th. So there was 2 weeks where I was just pretty much homeless. I didn't really have anywhere to go. I remember spending nights down in a mobile home in West Cork. They had to put me down there, they had to keep me away from everything else that was going on. And eventually I went into there, and since then I haven't really drank. No, I haven't drank. I haven't really drank. I haven't drank, and I haven't taken other substances as well. And I suppose it's been a hard and emotional journey, hence the shaky voice and stuff but it's been worth it. It really, really has been worth it. And I suppose to get to where I am today has been a massive credit to them and credit to myself and credit to other kind of organisations and fellowships that have kind of helped me along the way and stuff. And it's been a long journey.
And well done for owning your journey as well, because that can be a really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
I've been so open about it because I was kicked out of home probably around the same, I think it was 19 maybe, when I literally had a big bust up with my mother and my stepdad, and just a huge bust up. My stuff was all thrown to a black bag, thrown at the door, and I was just told go.
Yeah.
And it was just soul destroying. It's such a hard thing to go through. And after that, I never spoke to my mother for 3 years. Not even one phone call, one text, nothing. And again, that really destroyed me. But when I look back on it now, I'm glad I went through all those experiences and phases, because it's made me who I am today. Massively, and it's also massively strengthened my relationship with my mother, with my stepdad, which I don't know if that would have ever happened if I just kept going the way I was going.
Yeah.
It was just something that had to happen. And I think as well that even you, for what you do now, I can see the positivity, the energy comes off you when you're with your clients and stuff like that. And you probably had to go through all these phases for you to be that person as well.
Well, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all those experiences. I would have seen myself becoming a coach or a personal trainer if I had not, dropped out of college, gone through all that misery, got into rehab or treatment, and then discover I had an eating disorder, trying to sort that out, and then realise that I actually enjoy the process. And it's a process. It's never really a destination, because even this week, I'd like to consider myself that, I work a lot on myself. I do a lot of, even self-development. I read a lot of books, and even up to today I can still struggle. The head can still kind of come at me from time to time. So I suppose I kind of fell in love with the process of trying to get better, of trying to get well, and trying to get my head right, and trying to help people along the way as well. Because what I noticed is that the people that I would have either drank with or kind of used with or done those kind of things with, they eventually kind of came to me for help and were like, look, we're struggling, or I'm struggling, can you help me? And it was very humbling in a way for that to come full circle, that I was like, right, I'm in a position where I've tried to own up to a lot of my flaws and a lot of my defects, and that does inspire people, because it's not talked about really, especially in Ireland, especially if I went and talked to another 22-year-old like this, they'd be kind of like, what are you getting at?
Yeah.
So it's not really openly discussed anymore.
No, not at all. And I think that's something that really needs to be pushed as well, because there's so many people going through what you went through as well, and you probably at the time as well felt like you were the only person like that.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Because I was the same as well. When I was in basically the darkest place I was ever in, I just felt like I was the only person there. That there's nobody else feeling like that. It's just me. There's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose that's kind of a message to put out there as well, is that there's always somebody else going through similar or even worse than you.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so important to actually be able to reach out or ask for help or try and do something to improve on yourself. And also as well, when you're stuck in that place, you're kind of lost. You can't see the direction of which way to go.
No.
And I think unless you're willing to reach out or speak to someone to actually, you can find it really hard to take that first step. But if someone's there to say, do you know what, why don't you try this, this, and this? Even just going to the gym.
Yeah.
Taking that first step, that was the biggest thing for me at the start. It was actually going to the gym. When I was working in a bar in Spain, my boss said it to me, do you want to come to the gym? But he said it as a joke.
Yeah.
Because I was drinking every day of the week, because I used to get free drink working in the bars there. And I was living off McDonald's because I was making no money. So I was just having burgers, beers every single day. And he said it to me as a joke. And I said, yeah, I'm going to go. And just something clicked inside me. And ever since that day, now I've just been completely hooked on the gym.
I know.
So I think it really comes down to taking that first step, or even asking for help and guidance on how to take that first step. I think it can be really, really important.
Yeah.
So like, even with your whole experience and everything that you went through, what was kind of some of the biggest learnings you'd kind of take away from that? Especially for other people that may be in that situation as well.
Number one is talking about it. So like, I have a sponsor now who I try to contact or ring on regularly enough. I talk to him at least maybe once or twice a week. And what I found is that no matter how much work I do, or know how much I kind of own up to stuff or try to work on stuff, it's almost like the pebble in the shoe. There's always kind of something else to work on, or it's always just the small things day in, day out that I have to kind of watch and be careful of. And I suppose for me, the main learning curve I took away from it was that it wasn't just drink, or it wasn't just food. It was, I can be a workaholic. I can be addicted to sport. I can be addicted to negative thinking. I can be addicted to anything. I suppose I've just learned that it's anything to try and get me away from myself, because I didn't particularly like who I was growing up. I can still kind of fall in and out of it. So having someone that's a positive influence in my life, that can be almost like an objective opinion if my head starts to go haywire, So like, I rang my sponsor Sunday night. I was dreading work Monday morning. Don't know why. I love my job, but I suppose the negativity can just come in. It can creep in at any stage. And it's exhausting and it's draining. But I suppose number one would be just to have someone that, you can ring, and who's a genuine kind of almost loving critic of yours, that can objectively say, you need to cop on here, or they need to say, give yourself a break, or they can say, take a bit more action. And I'm lucky, I've an online coach. His name's Kieran. He calls me on my stuff. I have a sponsor, as I said, he calls me on my stuff. And my girlfriend calls me on my stuff as well, so she'd be my biggest kind of loving critic. She can be very objective, which is fantastic. She can kind of say to me, right, you need to get this ordered, you need to get this organized, or you need to stop doing this, or you need to do this. And another big thing would be to, don't underestimate the value of physical activity and eating correctly and sleeping properly as well. Like sleeping properly is just so fundamental to well-being. It's crazy. I read a book there called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. It blew me away. It scared me into sleeping properly. The same with my boss Mark. I remember telling him about it, and he was like, I need to start sleeping better. Training, doing some sort of physical activity. So I went back playing hurling this year. It was something I always loved, and I kind of took a break from it. I have bad injuries in my ankle, and I'm still rehabbing that. So I've gone back to that. And then general movement, just trying to get your movement up instead of just staying. Like, naturally, I'm the most disciplined person ever. I'd happily sit on the couch all day, or happily stay in bed all day, but I just have to get up, get out and get moving. And then eating, eating properly, fueling your body correctly. If you're fueling your body, if you're an unleaded, if your tank is an unleaded and you're filling it with diesel petrol, it's going to break down. That's the way I like to think of it. So I have to fuel my body with unleaded if I have an unleaded engine, and for me that's, getting your protein in, getting your calories adjusted, getting your veg in, getting your fruit in, getting your water in. And it's and the biggest lesson is just, my favorite word is continue. Just to continue it on. And that's what my sponsor told me, no matter what's going on, you just have to continue. There's some days I just want to pull the duvet over my eyes, the torture chamber, just stay in bed all day. That's naturally what I'd like to do, but you just have to continue on what you're doing. You have to take the next right step. If that means getting up and getting out, if it means getting out of bed earlier on your days off work and just getting for a walk, or making that phone call if your head's fried, owning your emotions, so I'm anxious, I'm scared, I'm angry, I'm lustful, or whatever, just owning all those things, and it's okay to be yourself, I suppose,
Yeah. So it's really just a balance of everything, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually.
Yeah, well, spiritually be another thing as well. Like, you know, I suppose I go to the fellowship of AA, you know, which helps me. And the biggest thing there is trying to be spiritual. Like, you know, admit that you're not the center of the universe, and you know, don't be a dickhead. Really, like, you know, be nice to people, and you know, try and help where you can, and just accept that you need help. You know, I think everyone needs a hand, and I suppose if you're able to put that hand out and ask for help, and be the help if someone needs it as well. You know, I suppose that's why I do what I do. I can be the helping hand, but also I can admit to other people that I need a hand as well. And I suppose that what makes me just who I am, really, in a way, you know.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So we'll wrap it up there. How can people kind of, I suppose, get in contact with you or follow your journey?
Well, I suppose, funnily enough, I'm actually social media would have been a prime thing for me. I'm actually deciding this week to come off social media. I'm actually coming off it just to give myself a break from it, like, you know. But I suppose as I said, I'm working for MT Fitness in Cork. So if you want to follow us on Instagram, and if you ever want to get in contact or just ask any questions and stuff, that would be probably the best way to contact us. MT Fitness Cork on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm kind of trying to lay low on the whole social media stuff at the moment.
Cool. All right, man. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for being so open and honest as well about your journey. I'm sure like there definitely will be some people that will connect to your story and relate to it. Hopefully they will be able to take some learnings away from that. But anyway, thank you much, man.
Thank you, sir.
So guys, again, first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you again to Sean if he's listening to the recording of this. That was incredible. There was a lot of emotion wrapped into that episode. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can kind of connect with his story. If you did feel like you've gotten something from this, do feel free to share it with anybody you feel that also may get something from this episode. Because again, like, this journey is really about helping other people become physically, emotionally, and mentally stronger. And the more people we can reach out and connect with, then the more impact I know this is going to have on people. So again, if you did enjoy this episode, please feel free to share it, like it, review, and make sure to follow the Stephen O'Brien Coaching Podcast on all the podcast platforms. And if you'd like to get in touch with myself or have any questions at all, you will find me at Stephen O'Brien Coaching on Instagram and Facebook. So again, guys, thanks so much again for listening to this episode. And I'm looking forward to having you guys on the next show.